Okay, it is 6 o'clock. I think we will get started. My name is Bruce Gartner. I am the Administrator for the Office of Transportation in Howard County, and we're here tonight to discuss the Transportation Priority Letter. And this is a letter we will be submitting to MDOT this winter. So we will go through some logistics in a little bit, but before we do that, and before I introduce the county executive, I wanted to recognize a few of the elected officials that I see on the call this evening. So we have Delegate Hill, thank you for joining us. Delegate Feldmark, thank you. And Councilmember Walsh, I also see on the list here. So I'll check back again, and if I've missed any elected officials that might be calling in, please reach out to us. But thank you all for attending. We know you've got busy schedules, and we'll try to do this as efficiently as possible. We have a 6 to 7 time period here. So without further ado, I would like to turn the meeting over to the County Executive Ball to provide a more official welcome and some introductory comments.
Thank you so much, Bruce, and good evening, everyone. We greatly appreciate you for being here virtually for our meeting on our transportation funding priorities. This is an annual meeting to update our funding and programmatic requests to the Maryland Department of Transportation, or MDOT. Tonight, Bruce Gartner, who you've already heard from, and David Cookson from our Office of Transportation will be leading this meeting. And I want to thank you, Bruce and David, and your entire team for not only helping to organize and facilitate this meeting, but all that you've done to help ensure that Howard County continues to progress, even in the face of COVID, to being a more transportation-friendly community. I also want to, again, echo Bruce's comments in thanking our elected officials who have joined and will be joining and maybe even watching later this evening. Last year, despite limited resources, we secured state funding for an important transportation projects. And some of those included our pedestrian safety improvements along US Route 1, replacement buses for our RTA, and improvements in our Maryland 32 and 108 corridor to advance development of an alternative bike route in those areas. With the recovering economy, I have every reasons to believe we will see more funding coming our way, thanks to our federal and state partners, as well as the planning efforts on the local and regional level. The recent passage of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act provides our county, the Baltimore region, and the state of Maryland an incredible opportunity to address long-needed transportation improvements. It's especially important for us to work with the entire region and our state to advocate for projects that address important concerns that I've heard as your county executive and even before as your county council member. We look forward to hearing about your ideas on transportation in our county and our region, whether it's to face the challenges as you move around our county or your vision for our transportation system. Please know we're listening. The priority letter outlines a clear message to our Department of Transportation, the governor, and the state legislature. And we already plan to discuss the significance of regional connections and transit. This includes advocating for funding and advancing the regional transit plan and asking MDOT to ensure our transportation system is well maintained, such as funding replacement public transit buses, which many of our residents rely on to get to work, school, and important quality of life activities. One of those key regional connections, providing high quality transit to connect Howard and Montgomery County, via US 29. We have already completed the work to develop and plan this project. And thanks to our efforts with Montgomery County, the Greater Washington Partnership recently listed US 29 corridor transit improvements as one of the top 4 shovel-ready projects in the state of Maryland. Now, we need the funding and support from the state to quickly implement transit service during the evening and morning peak times while we work with U.S. Department of Transportation, MDOT, and Montgomery County to fund a true bus rapid transit connection between Columbia and Silver Spring. This is just one example of how impactful transportation projects can be on our everyday lives. I look forward to listening and learning about your priorities. Thank you again. And now I'm going to hand the meeting back to Bruce and David.
Thank you, sir. I see that Delegate Terrassa has joined the meeting. Welcome, Delegate. Glad you could be here. Just scanning to see if I see any other familiar faces showing up from elected officials. Not yet. So anyway, what we will do now is we're going to be doing a bit of a presentation so you can get an understanding of the process and the reasons for the priority letter in a little more detail than what the county executive went into. We'll be sure to be as efficient as possible to allow time for comments afterwards. Tonight, you will be able to comment in several ways. We think it's working, but you should be able to raise your hand once we get to that comment portion. Use that feature in WebEx, and then you will be unmuted by our administrators. If you would like to comment or send a question, you can use the chat feature. Be sure to use the all panelists portion of that so that we all get that. And you could also send an email to transportation@howardcountymd.gov. I would note that if you want to submit something afterwards, we are receiving comments through February 3rd. We're trying to get this done expeditiously, as we will comment on in a little bit. So those are some of the ways that you can go for comments after you hear a little bit more about what we're planning. So starting in with the purpose and then going into what is the priority letter, I'll make a few comments there. David, you could advance the slide. And go ahead and take it from there. I think you're on mute, David. He didn't want to talk over me. If he's like me, he probably has several screens open, so we'll bear with this a second. Take a little stress off, I'll just start in on these documents. So we have several documents that we consider in the region. We have our priority letter, which feeds into documents from the state and the region. So the Regional Transportation Board Maximize 2445 document is one of those. I'm a member of the BRTB, so I work closely with my colleagues in the other counties in the Baltimore region on that. And then finally, that CTP document is what was just released to the Maryland General Assembly. So the delegates and senators will be seeing that 6-year plan within a few weeks in the budget consideration. David, you want to go ahead? Still having, oh, I think we hear you.
Okay, are we gone? Okay, sorry about that. I'm apparently technology challenged today. So just a quick restart. So thank you everyone for attending our public input meeting on the county's priority letter this year. So just a quick little introduction on what the county priority letter is and how it relates to it's one part of the bigger process in developing the state's consolidated transportation plan. So our quick little slide set shows where we are in terms of that bigger, larger process that the state goes through. So moving on to the next slide. So one of the questions people always ask is, what does the priority letter do, and what does it play in the process and for the state? So they really represent each of our county's internal rankings of our transportation priorities. So it's also a wide variety of projects such as transit improvements, highway reconstruction, and highway capacity projects. So they also like to see projects that are multimodal and regional as well, since they do have a greater impact on the state transportation investment decisions. They're more likely to get those funded. So each of the projects that are proposed for each of in the priority letter do have to sort of meet some of the goals in the Maryland Transportation Plan. And there are 6 primary goals, a safe and resilient transportation system, economic opportunity, enhancing our multimodal transportation system, the quality and efficiency of transportation services and customer service, especially environmental protection, and then fiscal responsibility, and also lastly, providing some more and better transportation options and connections to residents. So what we always like to do is talk a little bit about what we did last year. So last year, the funding requests were organized around 4 sections. Public transit and safety on the 2 corridors, US 29 and US 1. And a section on highlights and acknowledgements for projects that were funded by MDOT, or MDOT was continuing to cooperate with us on county funded projects on state roads. And then the third part is we do our requests for funding, and last year we had 9 funding requests for design and engineering projects and 5 requests for capital and construction. And the 4th section shows our requests for technical assistance and support. So one part of this is the scoring system. It's related to a law called Chapter 30 that was passed several years ago. So all our largest projects, which are transit and road capacity expansion projects that are over $5 million, are scored through this system. So it's not prescriptive for MDOT to fund these projects, or got 100% guides them on which ones they would be funding, but they are a small subset of the overall list of projects in the priority letter. So lastly, a quick item on our schedule. So we are here, of course, right in the end of January. And so we're soliciting public input at this time. And over the next couple of weeks, we'll be developing the priority letter, meeting with any other county members, and finalizing the letter. So the goal this year is to be submitting the letter in the middle of February. I think that's what we're really aiming for this time of year. And then that is the approximate schedule that we're working on meeting this year.
So
Bruce, if you want to jump in, I think this is
taking it from there. What you can do to help us in this process, in addition to listening tonight, David will be providing a little bit more information on some of the themes that we are considering this year. But please also look at these online maps on our Office of Transportation website, review that letter from last year, and just think about any issues, areas, and challenges that might not be in the letter that need to be addressed, what you would prioritize if there are new projects How MDOT funds these things and how they get raised to the top is not a science. So we have some experience in doing these things, and we'll take those into consideration. Some projects we simply do want to get listed because we don't know what kind of policies might change that they might rise to the top. So we do tend to have an extensive list. But as the county executive indicated, the strategy is really to focus on some areas where we think we could be most successful. So turn it back over to you, David. I guess with one little intro, the slide here shows these areas of transportation system safety, state of good repair, especially for public transportation. The transportation management, systems management and operations, which is basically applying technology and use of existing infrastructure to maximize the throughput on some of the interstate highways and some of the roadways surrounding interstates. And then also, as we've mentioned a few times, our priority corridors of US 1 for that pedestrian safety in particular, and US 29 and the connectivity we need there, particularly moving south to down and into downtown Columbia. So David's going to kind of elaborate on these themes a little bit more, but I did spend quite a number of years at MDOT. MDOT is attending tonight's meeting. We have a couple representatives from SHA listening in, so thank you. We do understand from talking with them what their priorities were and how we can best take advantage of those. So go ahead, David.
All right, thank you. So as Bruce said, we're taking this approach related to three sort of policy approaches and two of this very specific corridor. So I just want to go through what we're thinking about on these different policy approaches and corridors. So the first one is transportation system safety. So in the letter, we're proposing some statements. And one of those relates to making sure the users of our transportation systems are safe. This harmonizes with both the Howard County Strategic Roadway Safety Plan and also providing alternative facilities for people to walk and bike, because that's a critical part of being able to make sure that people can walk and bike around safely. We've had a rash of pedestrian fatalities over the last couple of years, especially on the US 1 corridor. So we want to make sure that we are investing in safe facilities for everyone. The second approach is what we're calling the state of good repair in public transportation. This both relates to maintaining our road infrastructure as well as ensuring that our public transit infrastructure is maintained, because a critical part of that, of course, is making sure our buses can get out on the road every day and being able to provide reliable and effective service for everyone. So we also, one thing we also pointed and highlighted some attention to the support that we are hoping to get to increase investment and support for in our bridge infrastructure, which is a critical part of maintaining the overall transportation infrastructure. Maintaining that is a sort of a very long-term and critical part of maintaining our transportation infrastructure. The third approach is, Bruce referenced this right in the beginning, is Transportation Systems Management and Operations, which the acronym goes TSMO. It's a mainly state-led initiative using basically a system of systems approach to our transportation network and looking for cost-effective interventions using technology and specific spot improvements, using a very metric-driven and technologically driven approach to both reducing congestion on our major roads, especially our major state roads, but also, and the side effect of that is also reducing crashes as well. And then moving on to the sort of very specific corridors, and like last year, we have two primary corridors that we're asking the state to address. One is the US 1 corridor, and that really came out of a lot of work that we've done both in the land development planning and in our US 1 safety evaluation that has gone back many years. So investing in safety projects, public transit along the corridor, and also investing in the TSMO systems along the US 1 corridor, which is a very critical economic area in the county as well. And the second one is US 29 corridor, and as county executive Ball mentioned, transit is an important part that we're really trying to emphasize on the corridor. COVID has really had an initial reduction in traffic volumes on our major roads, but as one could probably see, so a lot of that is still coming back. So major congestion on the US 29 corridor is occurring again. But we also want to make sure that we are better integrated with Montgomery County and so our residents can get down to Montgomery County jobs and their residents can get up to Howard County jobs as well. And so better integration with the flash service is what we're really requesting. And the last one on this list is working with the state to fund and advance the design for the north-south connector into downtown Columbia. So I think we're handing back over to Bruce to talk a little bit about next steps.
Yes, so as you formulate your comments, do think about these federal programs. The entirety of the CTP, MDOT does not operate on a one-year cycle. They update every year, but they can add projects in to out years of the program if there are sufficient revenues. One thing we would just mention about the federal timeline to prioritize is that the infrastructure bill, we've heard actually from Secretary Ports last night that they're waiting for some indications from the federal government about appropriations. They do have some of the existing federal federal funds programmed, excuse me. But they have indicated previously that they would submit a supplemental budget to the General Assembly later in session. So that's one of the main reasons we wanted to advance our thinking right now. Also, our state senators and delegates are dealing with kind of an unprecedented surplus of funds, and the capital budget is potential for projects that aren't usually considered for transportation. So in addition, just think about some of the things that you've seen out of our HOCO by design priorities, our bicycle and pedestrian master plans. They're on a smaller scale, but there are going to be discretionary grant opportunities. We are trying to take those into consideration as well. So with that, I think we would like to start hearing from you all. Again, we can receive things hopefully via chat. Allison's just popped up to kind of help facilitate that and bring our attention to anything we might be missing. And again, the website that we have and the email. So we're monitoring all those things. And at this time, I particularly like to understand if any of the delegates or the council members would like to make any brief comments before we hear from the citizens, or if you're just here to listen to the public tonight. Delegate Hill, I see your real hand raised. So
No, I was just
saying hello. Oh. Can't. That's good. All right, welcome. You were muted there for a second. So anyone else? I think Delegate Feldmark might have had to leave if she's.
I have to leave shortly, but I'm hoping to catch a little bit of hearing the public comment before I do. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, so we're in listening mode. Looks like we have a couple people lined up that would like to speak. So I'm going to jump into that for the public.
So if anybody doesn't know how to raise their hand, if you'll notice the participants button on the bottom right over that, you will be able to raise your hand. But I see a couple people have already started. So Greg, if you could unmute Joan Lankos so that she may speak.
And it's been unmuted.
Hi there. I'm Joan Lankos. I live in West Columbia, and I would like to talk about the US 29 Rivers Edge intersection. I reviewed the consultant report from May of 2020 that indicates the significant problems with having a traffic signal at that location, and the need to make improvements. I also understand that 20 years ago, well, way more than 20 years ago, when the Broken Land Parkway and Route 29 interchange was built, and they took away the Owen Brown Road one and they added one at Seneca Shaker, there was supposed to be an interchange also built at River's Edge, and it wasn't. I feel for the folks in River's Edge. However, we've gotten beyond the point of safety, and the convenience and wishes of a few people, relatively speaking, in the River's Edge community are overshadowing the critical need to improve safety immediately on southbound 29. I really wish that we could encourage an immediate change, removal of the light. Yes, people will have to go south to go north, but it needs to happen, and continue to look for long-range solutions of an additional access, either a bridge or a tunnel or something like that. But immediate response has to be made to the problems for all the people in West Columbia and District 12 who need that access of going south on 29 to be safe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jen.
Ian Kennedy.
Oh, good evening. Can you hear me? Just to make sure. Great.
Yes.
Well, hello, my name is Ian Kennedy, and I am a resident of Columbia and the executive director of the Downtown Columbia Arts and Culture Commission, which is a nonprofit that owns Merriweather Post Pavilion. And I'm just here to express some support for the inclusion of the US 29 Broken Land Parkway interchange improvement in the transportation letter. I actually sent a letter detailing my support for the project earlier this week, but I just wanted to briefly emphasize the main point, which is that this project, in particular, the jug handle ramp that would connect directly into the Merriweather district right by the new garage there, will significantly improve access to downtown Columbia for both visitors and residents. And critically, I think it'll lessen the impact of traffic from large gatherings and events at Merriweather and elsewhere on the internal road network in downtown Columbia, which I hope will also make it easier for people to walk and bike safely throughout downtown Columbia. The direct access to the parking garage that the jug handle could provide will also, to that point, hopefully further this idea of a park once destination in downtown Columbia, which is to say, somewhere you go, you park your car, and then you go walk or bike, or hopefully soon scooter, wherever you want to go in downtown. For those reasons and the ones outlined in the letter I sent earlier this week, I hope you'll consider making this improvement a top priority for state funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. We did receive your letter, so we do have that.
Greg, if you could unmute Andy Shalal, please.
Andy's been unmuted.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening. I'm Andy Shalal. I'm the owner and founder of Busboys and Poets, and I'm here tonight to express my support for the Route 29 jug handle as well. First of all, let me say that I'm delighted to be part of the Howard County Merriweather District community here in Columbia. So thank you for making me feel so welcomed. Today, I'm speaking as a business owner. I know there are many factors that contribute to the success or failure of a business like ours, and we've seen many, many challenges. One of the most important factors, though, is the convenience and safety of our customers and our staff, how easy it is to get here. In that regard, I cannot tell you how many people have expressed to me how difficult it is sometimes to find Busboys and Poets in the Merriweather District here in Columbia. Anyone in business will tell you that if people feel it is too difficult or too risky to do something, they will avoid doing it altogether. So it goes without saying that getting into and out of the Merriweather District is a major concern to our customers and the growing business community that's developing here in the Merriweather District. The proposed Route 29 jug handle will provide much more direct and safe access to this new thriving community. And I say thriving because we really are delighted at the amount of kind of business we've already received. I think there's so much more potential for us as well as for the county. And on days when Meriwether Post Pavilion is holding a concert, this rerouting will help alleviate the inconvenience of increased traffic, which disrupts those just wanting to go out to dinner or visit one of the restaurants or retailers in the Meriwether district, including coming, of course, to my place, Busboys and Poets. I understand that the proposed jug handle has been included in the Downtown Columbia plan since its inception, and the road project could begin construction this year. I urge you to make this a priority. The sooner we start, the sooner the benefits in terms of economic development and support for local businesses will accrue to Howard County and everyone else involved. So thank you so much for your consideration, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you very much, Andy. Allison, who's next?
Judith Toad or Toadess?
Judith's been unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, hi. I live in town center of Columbia, and I just want to say I was really excited to hear that you're talking about expanding bus service to Silver Spring, and I hope you'll be doing it for more than just rush hour, so that people can use it to travel back and forth to Silver Spring and then connect to the metro in DC, and that also that there could be an expansion of mass transit to Baltimore as well. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Barb Nicholas?
Barb's been unmuted.
Well, good evening. I'm also here to express my support for funding what I call the North-South Connector. And in case you can hear my smile, I'm hearing others call it the jug handle. And as the last speaker, who also supported this, said, this infrastructure project was envisioned and called out in the Downtown Columbia plan. And currently, there is so much traffic on LPP in the morning and in the evenings. So this will go a great way to facilitate and benefit the movement throughout the downtown. I do have a letter, and I will be sending that in. I was listening to the goals that Dr. Ball, I believe, was talking about, and this project meets at least 3 of them: the economic opportunities, the quality and efficiency, and the more and better transportation opportunities. So I do urge you to add this project to the priority letter. And thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Philip Dodge?
Philip Dodge's been unmuted.
Good evening. My name is Philip Dodge. I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Columbia Partnership, and I'm also here to voice support of the jug handle, or as Barb Nicholas referred to, the North-South Connector. We believe the jug handle will be not only a huge impact for our residents' daily lives, but it will also foster economic development by making it easier, quicker, and safer for residents, employees, and visitors to enter and exit downtown. I think we also believe that it could make Route 29 a better prospect for bus rapid transit in the coming years. And, as downtown Columbia grows, we think the jug handle and the related improvements will be crucial for getting people into and out of downtown quickly. And I also submitted a letter. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it, Phil.
That is it, looks like, for raised hands, so we will switch to the chat. Traffic density on Route 40 and 99 has dramatically increased as development in Turf Valley, Woodmount, and areas north and west of those corridors. Should these roads also be included in the priority letter?
David, you've done a fair amount of work with SHA on the Route 99 corridor and some corridor studies, so I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks, Chris. So density and the amount of traffic on those roads has increased over the last couple of years. So there's probably, in terms of adding them to the priority letter, these are primarily probably operational improvements. And one of the things that is tending to happen is congestion on 70, and that corridor is having flow over effects onto more of the local roads, 40 and 99 especially. So, I mean, it's hard to believe that the TSMO system improvements that are being proposed, if implemented, is going to offer some of that relief off the main line off 70, because what we are experiencing, seeing in the evidence is that and that congestion on the 70 itself gets that flow back onto the local system, the 40 and 99 especially. So while we can definitely take a look at it, I think the improvements to these types of roads are really going to come from addressing some of that bigger congestion on the 70 corridor through the TSMO system.
And I can also address from the transit perspective. We have the RTA is planning to expand service when we can solve the driver shortage. We have a route that's been approved by the Central Maryland Transportation and Mobility Commission that would go from the Ellicott City Route 40 area down to Catonsville to connect into the MTA service. We've heard that would be connecting basically the Catonsville area to the Walmart on North Ridge Road. So just mobility and accessibility on that from the RTA standpoint would be beneficial. The Route 40 corridor is also part of an east-west transit corridor being studied by the MTA and the local governments in the region for a transit plan and improvements. It's not certain that we'd have anything like a light rail coming all the way out to Ellicott City. There's also routes into Baltimore County being considered, but the whole route is being evaluated so that we can get a sense of whether or not even a higher frequency bus service would be a benefit and possibility in the years to come. So that's a bit about Route 40 from the transit perspective. Allison, next comment.
Can you explain why Route 1 has so many bike fatalities? Is that road inappropriate for a bike lane?
Well, I'll start with just saying that an even bigger concern that we have is the pedestrian crossing. I think there's even a comment in later about the number of crosswalks. So that has been a big focus, and that there were at least 4 locations that were funded by SHA just past year. Dr. Ball referenced that at the beginning of the meeting in his remarks. So those facilities will be coming online over the next couple of years. And then, bike facilities in that corridor, we've heard lots of comments about the ability to do that. And so we have a couple projects that are looking into that, but it is a difficult area to get some bike facilities. And David, you want to take it from there?
So we actually agree that, US 1 itself for a on-street bike lane is not really the appropriate facility. So the existing design guidelines for US 1 did have that, but as a practice, we've moved away from that, and we're working with the state to incorporate the concept of a shared use path along the whole US 1 corridor. So as part of our development review process, we're implementing that facility when private sector development comes in, and also working with our public works on several projects on the US 1 corridor as part of both the US 1 safety evaluation projects, which we have 4 going on right now. And those are incorporating shared use paths along US 1. So, based on the speeds and types of vehicles on that road, a fully separated shared use path is the facility that we are working to implement along the whole corridor. So that's the primary solution that we are looking for making sure that all the modes are separated along the whole corridor.
Allison, before you go to the next, it looks like Council Member Deb Young has joined us, and I believe she has just been elevated. So good to see her face pop up on my screen. I haven't yet.
I can't get my face to pop up.
Oh, well,
Thank
your
you.
voice popping up will have to do.
But thank you, Mr. Gardner. I was just looking at the settings to figure out why can't I get my face to pop up? Yes, but I appreciate that. And I appreciate you holding this meeting tonight. I know that you take very seriously the comments of the people who are participating in this meeting and the constituents of Howard County. And I've appreciated all that you've done for some major asks in District 4, and I really want to make sure that people who are attending this meeting tonight recognize the incredible assistance that you have given to those of us who are on the BWI roundtable and in your activities with the Maryland Aviation Administration and the FAA, and how appreciative we all are that you have joined us. And you may not be all that happy about it, but we're really happy
Now
about
you've
it.
outed me, yes.
We have outed you, and we are thrilled that you are now part of our group. Yes. And I had to join late. I'm sorry, because I was on a Board of Education meeting, but I do just want to mention that I heard people talking about, I heard Mr. Cookson talking about 70 and Route 1, and I am also, and I heard Mr. Dodge mention I'm not sure what it's called onto 29, the north-south connector, the horseshoe, whatever that thing is going to come off at 29 into downtown Columbia. And I think we all know right now that the situation is not great, because trying to get to what will be what is Toby's now, most people would just naturally come in off of 29 over by Whole Foods, and that's the way that they've gotten to Toby's for years and years. And eventually that's also, I guess, how they will get to the new cultural center. And they really can't do that now because of the configuration. So that's definitely an issue. And I think I also heard Ms. Nicholas mention that. So I'm hoping that that will be something that we take care of. Bus rapid transit, you know, I'm a huge fan. Let's go, 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 BRT. And I'm not sure if anybody is here from River's Edge, but again, Mr. Gardner, thank you for your assistance and ensuring that River's Edge was still able to get out of their community and go north on Route 29. That was very important. And I hope that at some point the state will seriously consider another way to get the people in River's Edge out of their community, going north on 29 in a way that doesn't involve that stoplight there. And finally, you know me, I am the noise queen. So between BWI and sound walls, which are, I know how hard they are to get, but I always have to make my ask for the sound wall on Route 90, on 95, which is very problematic right now for the North Laurel area around the 216 intersection, because there is now a sound wall on the southbound 95. And it actually, since they put up that sound wall, it's gotten much worse on the other side of the community because of the reverberation from the sound off of that sound wall. And then, of course, the sound wall that would hopefully one day go from along 32 from Cedar Lane to 108, which is also a very high noise area now. But thank you. Again, thank you for everything you do. I know we're always asking you for multi-million dollar projects. So we just know that you're going to be able to do it. You know, just go on over there, say hi to the state, let them know. But really, I appreciate everything that you've done for us this last year.
Sure thing. Thank you for those comments and that input. Appreciate it. And we do have the letter that you submitted too. So
thanks.
And I believe one of your other favorite projects is a subject of another comment Allison is going to get to. So
Oh, good. I can't wait.
We have a comment about Clarksville. Since the last priority letter, the Erickson Living proposed CCRC development on Route 108 and Shepherd Lane was approved. This should accelerate prioritization of the Route 108 streetscape project before the CCRC development is completed.
Okay, thank you. So that one of the projects in the state funding that the county executive mentioned that we got this past year was a grant for the Maryland 32 alternate bike route that combined some improvements for both 10 Oaks Road and Maryland 108, and it did help advance some of the planning work we have that David Cookson is leading. I even see we have one of our project managers that's helping him on that, on listening in tonight, so he knows who he is. But David, you want to go from there?
So thank you. Yeah. So as Bruce said, the funding that the state has provided is going to allow us to advance our portion of that the US 108 Clarksville streetscape plan to 100% design. So that is really accelerating the project. So the goal is within the next year or so to get that that final design completed. And as part of that final design, we're doing technical coordination with the engineering firms associated with Erickson Senior Living. So our projects and endpoints will harmonize properly, and making sure that we're all following the same sort of streetscape plan. And so we have a consistent furniture types, consistent pavement types, all those types of things to make sure it's sort of the vision of the Clarksville Streetscape Master Plan for the pathway elements are completed along that whole corridor. So yes, we are moving as expeditiously as possible, and we hope to get that completed as funding comes through.
Thank you, David. Allison, anything else to highlight?
We have one more comment on Route 1. I strongly support pedestrian and cyclist improvements in the Route 1 corridor. It's not an exaggeration to say it is one of the deadliest places to be a pedestrian in Howard County. Even basic amenities like crosswalks are rare. A quick look at Google Earth shows that there are fewer than a dozen marked crosswalks across Route 1 in Howard County, and fewer still that enable crossings across all 4 streets in an intersection. More may have been created since the imagery was collected, but the point remains. It's very difficult to be a pedestrian along Route 1, let alone a cyclist. Please continue to support this.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I believe that might be all. I'd give maybe Allison a quick minute to check the email in case anybody submitted through email to our transportation site.
We are up to date on email.
Okay. I'd also like to point out and thank our partners in county government in the Department of Public Works. So Brandon Love's shop and Chris Jagarapu and Jen Biddle in reviewing the previous letter and commenting on that. We're working with them, particularly helping prioritize that system preservation and bridges. Also, our colleagues at the Baltimore Metropolitan Council staff there have been helping coordinate a regional ask to make sure that the Baltimore region really acts in a more coordinated way. The elected officials know how well the Washington region does that. So I just like to highlight for them that we have this year been much more active in communicating with each other on our regional priorities that helped because of the regional transit plan that was adopted a couple of years ago that was a result of state legislation. So just wanted to point out a couple of those partnerships that we've had both within county government and in the region. So I think with that, unless we see any other hands raised or comments coming in, might be giving everybody about 10 minutes back. Remember that comments can be submitted through February 3rd. Councilmember Young, I did communicate with one of Stephanie we talked about earlier. She couldn't make it tonight, but she has the information. So we'll be sure we'll be getting more comments in from public. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great night. We really appreciate you chiming in. Sorry we double booked on a couple things. I'm sure that always happens this time of year. So really appreciate the elected officials that could listen in. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Take care.